We were coming back from the casino one night, me, her, him, and 2 of her kids. And on the way back, they get into an argument over something, and she throws the wedding ring out of the driver's side window or passenger window. So they break up in the car right there. We drop her off, and then me and him get a metal detector and go back and look for that ring for like 3 or 4 hours. And I'm 6 years old.
Did they find
middle of the night, I think we may have found it. It was a small patch of grass, but it took us a while to find it.
Yeah.
You know, that's my idea of love at this point. Is
Right.
chasing after somebody or cheating and this and that. It's just chaos. And I was comfortable in the chaos.
Let's be honest about recovery.
The rewards, the challenges.
Let's talk about our failures. We are flawed people, after all.
Let's challenge the stigmas that weigh us down.
Because while most of us are looked at, few of us are seen.
Let's talk about addiction.
And how Christ overcomes our weaknesses.
Because we are loved.
Because we are loved.
Because we are loved.
We are loved.
We are because loved. We are loved.
My name is Joseph Deason. I was born in Kihyet, Mississippi to a loving family. After around the age of 1, they got divorced. This put my life into a constant struggle and a whirlwind of trouble. Got arrested multiple times, and it all came to a head when I got arrested the last time with 2 possession charges and a trafficking charge. At that point, I decided it was either prison or God, and I chose God. Since then, I've lived as a disciple for the Lord and been a servant to Him and His people. And this is my story.
Hey everybody, Paul from Jesus Loves Addicts, and as we tend to do, we like to let you know that you're about to embark on another 2-part episode. And so what you're about to see is part 1 of Joseph Deason's redemption story. Hey everybody, welcome back to Jesus Loves Addicts. We're glad that you're here with us. We're glad to be here. You know, it's interesting. One of the things I love doing about this podcast is meeting all of the different personalities that come on here. And so many of them are completely unknown to me. But then we every now and then get one of these added pleasures where I get to know somebody deeper that we already knew. And so today is one of those episodes. We are privileged to have Joseph Deason with us. And this is a gentleman who I have worked around, been around, but as is so common in our world today, even probably for some of the people we call friends, we don't really know what that means. We don't really know them. And so today I get the privilege of getting to know him. And am looking forward to it. So this is a gentleman who was introduced to drugs and alcohol at around age 13 and then spent the next 8 years in addiction before being redeemed and finding his way out of that lifestyle. But in listening to your little intro, you'd mentioned being raised in a loving home. And so what did that look like? What did a loving home for you look like? Is that
so? A loving home for me was a separated home. So when I was born in 2001. My parents had been married for roughly 17 years and had 2 children. My brother was 13, my sister was 10. Raised them. A happy family, goes on vacations, part of things in town like clubs and da-da-da-da.
Like involved in things.
Involved in a lot of things. Very good family, but the love wasn't there no more between my parents. It was very toxic, very mentally violent, very mentally abusive, not physically, but just stuff like that. So,
yelling?
Yes.
Okay.
But luckily I didn't get to see any of that. I wasn't there for it.
Okay.
Heard 2 different sides of the story, stuck in the middle, unsure. What I do know is after a year of me being born, a few days before Christmas, my mom picks up and leaves my father. So I'm 1 year old, around 1.5 years old. My parents separate. They've been together 17 years, happy marriage, besides all the stuff goes on behind closed doors, then they separate. And this leaves me going...
Well, can I just pause you there? Because that's a loaded statement, right? Yes. A happy marriage other than what goes on behind closed doors. So would it be safe to say that it almost, and you might not know, it was you were 1.5 years old, but I think there are a lot of relationships out there that they work hard on presentation, even though underneath the surface they already know it's falling apart. Right? Okay. All right.
I'd say it was more like that, a very, very well presented family. Everybody thinks everything's going good. Coach baseball, football, very involved in schools, very involved
If
in
I were
everything.
looking in from the outside, I would think they
Everything's
have it
good.
all together.
Yeah. House, cars, kids,
Yeah.
not wealthy, but happy,
Right.
And then on the inside, it's violence, trauma. Like I said, I don't remember any of this. My first memory is probably 3 years old, but I have had the pleasure of hearing both sides
Right.
the next 25 years of my life, 23 years of my life. So,
I have one more question on your siblings. What is the breakdown? So you were one when they separated. There were two more
yes, so my brother is 14, or was 14 at that point.
when they divorced.
Yes. And my sister was 11.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
she's
you were
10
like
years older.
later.
Yeah, so what happened was they had a shot to try to save the marriage with another child.
Okay.
Didn't work. Here we are today.
Okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
there was a significant age difference though between
Yes,
you and your
it was
siblings.
10 years at
Okay.
the most. Very close still, but yes,
Yeah.
10 years age difference, two different worlds. Like I said, they lived in one world, and they didn't, like I said, my
Yeah.
different people raised them than who raised me. My parents raised me, but it was two different. It was somebody in their 20s versus someone in their 30s.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, that
Yeah.
raised them. Scared parents versus parents that
That's a really good way to put that and to
Yeah.
look at it. But yeah, it was y'all were raised by two different sets of parents, yet the same people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
two different but the same people. So my mom took me and my sister, and my dad kept my brother, and that's how it went. Up until I was probably 3 years old, I lived with my mother and my sister, with my dad having my brother. But being that said, we were a mile apart from each other, 2 miles apart from each other. We were in
Y'all
the
were
same
close.
town still, staying everywhere at the same time. My sister would stay there, I'd stay there. It wasn't like it was separated. It was
Right.
just they weren't married no more. So it was, in my first memory, I was probably 3. It was probably 2 years after they divorced. It was my first Christmas, and I was living with my mother. And I just remember having a separate, different than what's on TV or different families. I remember having my mom and my sister, and, everybody
Yeah.
else was in a different house and stuff like that. So it's just a kind of sense of not having what everybody else has in my life at that point.
Okay.
Yes, jump forward about a year later. My mom moves to Pearl, which is about an hour from where I lived. I moved with her. She's a teacher and was teaching, got a promotion to a different school, and took me and my sister with her. And I'm staying with my grandparents on the weekends, my dad's family, but at the same time going to stay with my father as well. But this lasted about 6 months. She has this opportunity to go to Arizona, which is halfway across the country from Mississippi all the way to Arizona. So she gives me a choice at 4 years old. Who do I want to live with? And
Was that hard?
I don't know. It was a pretty easy decision at the time. Looking back, I don't know why I made that decision or what, I don't know. I just know that I chose to live with my father at that point. And she packed up all my stuff in 2 plastic crates. One was full of books and toys, the other was full of clothes, and met my father and dropped me off with him. And
You went to Arizona.
went to Arizona with my sister.
Was this relationship with your mom these 3 years? And again, you're very young,
Yes.
but you do describe it as a loving home. Do you remember that being loving? Was this an awkward goodbye? Was it?
No, very loving.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Love for both my parents at this point.
Yeah.
I wasn't caught in the middle of their relationship. I was too young to be caught in the middle
Yeah.
of it.
Right.
So it was mom and daddy. It wasn't what he said and what she said
Okay,
back and
good.
forth. It was me being in the middle.
You didn't feel that tug.
Didn't feel that at that time. It
Right.
was, I want to go live with my dad because me and him play sport. We do all this together, which I don't remember why I picked it. Like I said, I have very
Well, you're a
few
boy,
memories
and
of
it's the area
being
you
that
grew up
young.
in. So, I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
I would think even at that age, that
Yeah.
that would be a significant change. I'm going to stay right here because this is more comfortable.
Yeah, so it was
Yeah.
very good. And then, so I moved in with him, and he is, so both of them were living the life of a bachelor and bachelorette pretty much. So they were married at 19 and 17. So, and I don't think there was any cheating. So that was 18 years of being faithful and having kids and just all that. So whenever they got divorced, they let their roots flow pretty much. They started to enjoy the world a little more. Not drugs or alcohol, just meeting people and having an experience that most people have in their teens or 20s where they were married in high school, kids
Sure.
and all that.
They were dating, they were going out, they were hanging out with
and
friends.
then pregnant, and then, so now they have their own worlds going on. And my mother gets pregnant before she goes to Arizona with my youngest brother. His dad dies in a car wreck about a month after she gets pregnant. I think that may have been a push to Arizona too, her just trying to escape all the pain. Like I said, I'm trying to remember this correctly. I'm not 100% sure, but I remember her being pregnant when they went to Arizona. I think so. Like I said, I was 4 years old. So I'm living with my father. They're in Arizona for about 6 months. They didn't stay long. And me and my father have a great relationship, but he's going through this second marriage at this point. He wasn't in it whenever I moved back in. Me and him got into it together, kind of. He met her, got married, very bad relationship.
Yeah.
Very toxic. She wasn't the best person. He wasn't the best person either at the time. Like I said, they were just not good people. There was pills involved and stuff like that caused turmoil in the relationship. She had 3 kids, and he had me and my brother living with him. My brother was a hard person. He's 15, and his family just got ripped apart. So,
Right.
yeah, he's very angry. Yeah, big guy, very angry.
Was your dad using when he and your mother were together, or did this start after that divorce?
After.
Okay.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say using to a degree, because like I said, I work in addiction, so it's a lot of different levels. I'd say it was prescriptions that were his.
Was he abusing them?
Abusing them.
Yeah.
But it didn't become a problem per se. He was mainly doing it to entice her or stuff like that. I mean, it's always been but it's never been a thing. It's always been...
It's misuse at its best.
Misuse with women, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, wasn't me,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my brother's angry at this point, and he's just a troubled kid. I mean, he's 16, 17. His junior year, he had like a 36 on the ACT, perfect score.
Wow.
Got tons of college scholarships, but his family just got ripped apart. So he's angry. He's fighting. He's pissed. He's drinking. And I'm exposed to the alcohol in the house and stuff like that. And I had alcohol before that with my grandparents, but it just don't click until you start seeing 18, 19-year-olds partying and stuff like that. And, it's a bad influence looking back, but at the time it's your big brother. That's what you're looking at. I'd say that was my first experience to wanting a party, that
looks fun.
Looks fun. It looks a lot better than what I'm doing in life. Yeah. So, and that's at 4 or 5 years old. I'm seeing this and recognizing this stuff. He's got friends, he's got girls, he's got alcohol, and this is...
He looks busy.
Yeah, and that's what my parents are doing at the same time, too. They're chasing after these relationships. So in my mind, this is what life's about. It's about these relationships. It's about all this stuff.
Was your brother, when you say he was angry and he was a teenager and everything, did any of that ever feel like it was spilled out on you since you were so much younger than him?
Not more than just a brother way.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Brotherly love at best. It wasn't nothing like that. It was him just being a kid, pretty much.
Just an angry kid.
Yeah. He was just an angry person. He took it out on my dad's wife and my mom's people, and I did too. I remember being 5 years old and writing a letter. My dad was the woman my dad was married to at this point, the second wife. I hate you, and putting it on a clothes basket. And strong emotion coming from a 5-year-old, and I don't know where that emotion was coming from. I was just, it's a lot of stuff coming into a young kid's world all at once and stuff like that.
Were the people he was seeing, were any of these women engaging in substance use of?
Yeah, I'd say she was on Xanax and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so their behavior toward you then?
No, they were good people.
They were
nice.
Fine. You just were mad because it wasn't mom.
Yeah, that or... Yeah, there's probably something underlying there that never fully looked at, but I'm sure there's a lot of different stuff that could have brought on them emotions for sure.
Yeah.
So my mom moves back. She used to stay with my father. Her and my sister are still up around Jackson, somewhere around there, Raymond, stuff like that. And I'd go see her every weekend. It wasn't like we were separated or anything like that. But I'm also going to see my grandparents at this time, my dad's mom and dad. So I'd see my mom one weekend and see them one weekend. And my dad would keep me during the week. And my grandparents loved me. Great relationship with them. But my grandfather worked for Rowan, which is an offshore company, for 35 years and retired when I was like 4. So he retires and has all this money and all this free time, and he's always drank and gambled his whole life. So as I'm staying with them, I'm in a bar from the time I was probably 4 till 9.
Wow.
From 4 o'clock in the afternoon till midnight.
Because he would take you there so you could
and my
drink.
grandparents
So
would
very
take me.
loving, very sweet, but not real
Not the best
responsible.
environment.
Yeah.
Very taken care of. Nobody's touching me in that bar, but
Yeah.
That's
I shouldn't
not
be
where
in a
you
bar
need
at
to
4
be.
years
Right,
old.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, they're giving me money to gamble on the little machines on the counter, and
Well, it
anything I
fogs
need,
your
I'm taking
judgment,
care of.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm living the life that I shouldn't be living, but it's the best life I have. And I'm enjoying it.
Well, and you
Yeah.
were a kid.
Yeah.
You enjoyed it.
Like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is probably what brought on my addiction, stuff like that, being exposed to all that stuff. But great relationship, bought me whatever, took care of me. Nothing was ever going to happen to me. I mean, it was very protective. But
You didn't
also,
feel unsafe.
Yeah, not at all. It was
Maybe too safe. Yeah.
too safe, too comfortable.
In that,
Yeah.
You feel me? Terrible environment, and I was
Yeah.
way too comfortable. And that may have been what led to other stuff as we get deeper into the story. So me and my father, the one memory I have about his second wife, or I have a bunch of memories about her, but the worst one I have that probably shaped my reality for my future is that we were coming back from the casino one night. They were me, her, him, and 2 of her kids. And we're playing in the arcade the whole night there. They're gambling or eating or whatever. And on the way back, they get into an argument over something. And she throws the wedding ring out of the driver's side window or passenger window. So they break up in the car right there. We drop her off, and then me and him get a metal detector and go back and look for that ring for like 3 or 4 hours. And I'm 6 years old. At
Did they find
middle of the night, I think we may have found it. It was a small patch of grass, but it took us a while to find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we found it. But that was, that's my idea of love at this point. Is
Right.
chasing after somebody or cheating and this and that. It just wasn't a good,
Chaos.
just chaos. And I was comfortable in the chaos.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he taught me respect and taught me all these other things in different ways. If I didn't say yes, ma'am, or no, ma'am, or hold the door, or this or that, it was not good,
Yeah.
Not that it was bad, because he was rougher on my siblings than me. I had it fairly easy compared to them. But it was a balance of you do the right thing in public, and then, I'm chasing after women, But my mom did the same thing with me, and it was just the way it was, in my life. And they're trying to be free at the time.
I'd like to take a moment to recognize a major podcast sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by America's Thrift Stores, your go-to option for decluttering and giving back. If you have a closet bursting at the seams or a garage that's seen better days, we've got the perfect solution for you.
That's right. America's Thrift Stores makes it easy to clear out the clutter and make a positive impact in your community. Whether you're cleaning out your wardrobe, downsizing your living space, or just looking to give back, America's Thrift Stores has you covered.
And here's the best part. You've got options. Schedule a hassle-free home pickup, drop off your items at one of their convenient donation sites, or swing by an America's Thrift Store to donate in person. No matter which way you choose, you're making a difference.
Absolutely. Every donation you make to America's Thrift Stores directly benefits charities in your area, such as the Home of Grace and other fantastic organizations dedicated to helping those in need.
For example, donations made to America's Thrift Stores in southern Mississippi help the Home of Grace provide support and assistance to individuals facing drug and alcohol addiction. Your contributions make a real impact on their mission to provide freedom from addiction through Christ-centered recovery. So not only are you decluttering your life, but you're also helping build a stronger and more supportive community.
It's truly a double blessing. So what are you waiting for? Clean out that closet, clear out that garage, and make a positive difference in your community by donating to America's Thrift Stores.
Visit America's Thrift Stores online to schedule a home pickup, locate a donation site near you, or get directions to one of their store locations.
America's Thrift Stores, where giving back never goes out of style.
That's significant, and there's probably a whole show within the topic you just brought up about that strange duality of, being raised by dysfunctional homes, because there is it's almost a street code, right? Like you hear that all the time with addicts. There is a code of respect on the street, but it's not really a civil one, right? I mean, it's not one that you'd want to share with your kids.
It's not
so
one I'm
here
living
you're on
now.
one hand, it's actually very confusing, right? Because on one hand, your dad is showing you this set of standards, while in the dark betraying them, and you're getting to see both sides of that. So yeah, that's a heavy introduction for a young kid.
Definitely a crazy lifestyle for a 4 to 8 year old to live, I'd say. So my dad ends up going back and marrying this woman again. So he marries his second wife 2 times. It lasted about a month, and then we end up in a hotel with nowhere to go. And we stayed in a hotel together. I mean, I'm in school at this time, so we're leaving the hotel. He dropped me off at school, coming back, staying in the hotel.
Was your brother with y'all?
No, so my brother at that point had left. Not sure where he was at. I think he may have moved in with my grandparents or staying with them. He was DJing at a bar or something like that. Either way, he hated my second stepmom, and he dipped. Now, we are living in the hotel. I'm going to school like a normal kid. I don't think nothing's wrong. I'm watching TV and playing Wii when I get home. And, so my aunt takes us in, my dad's sister, and me and him live with her and her family for, I'd say, about a year. He was down in the dumps, probably abusing stuff more than he should have at one point, and this put me in a weird situation overall. But my aunt's very loving to me. Great relationship. Me and her talk. I talk to her every week now. I mean, she's heavily more involved farther down in the story, but she raised me from young to there. She's got very good values, very good morals, very Christian, very, good person overall.
So there was stability there.
And that's what I needed.
Did you welcome it when you were around her?
Yes, to a certain degree. Like I said, there's a stability to a point.
Yeah.
That she was still raised by the same people my dad was raised by. And that's her mom and dad who drink and smoke. So I'm still going up there and having this life while having this life. So there's stability, but there's also not. There's a mixture. So we lived with her for a little while. And then we get our own house finally again. It's not a good house. I mean, it's livable. I mean, I'd live there now, but I lived in nicer houses, but it was... So my brother comes back down at this point because me and my dad have a place to live. So it's me, my dad, my brother, and 3 of his best friends that are late 20s, early 30s.
Your brother's best friend?
Yeah. Okay. So it's a party house at that point. Me and my dad share a room, and then my brother has a room, and then his friend has a room. Then we got a guy on the couch.
Is your dad at this point kind of living with you guys as kind of one of the guys? It's not really a dad figure. It's just kind of he's another friend in the crew.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's my dad. And then he's everybody else's friend.
Yeah.
And roommate.
Yeah, it's college it's men's league softball, alcohol. He don't drink, but everybody else drinks. Men's league softball, women, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just raised in this environment for the next. So it's very unstable. This is the first 9 years of my life.
Where was your mom at this point? You have a note?
Yeah, so she at this point has my sister and her kids. So my sister got pregnant at 16. And had my nephew. And then my mom was pregnant the year before and had my brother. So my brother and my nephew are a year apart. So they're raising them like brothers and living together and kind of doing that. Like I said, my sister's going through her struggles. She'd be great on the podcast one day. She was addicted to coke and a bunch of stuff like that. Very rough history of hanging out with the wrong people and doing the wrong thing, and she ran stuff. She's different, easily to say. But so around the age of 9, my dad meets his third wife, and her name's Donna. He is married to her now. They've been happily married for 14 years now. So there's all the chaos, and then it shifts to the stability. So now we've been living like this for 9 years, and you're trying to put me in a house with 3 other kids and a wife, and we're going to have the perfect picture of life, and that ain't what I had for the last 9 years. I don't know what you're talking about.
And I don't want that.
Yeah, I don't want that. I don't know. Let's go back to how it was,
Well, and even if you wanted it at some level, at this point, you're not going to trust it, right?
No,
you don't know
everybody's
what
done left,
reason for suspicion. Yeah.
My mom done had a second husband.
Sure.
He done left. My dad's been married to his second wife twice. Both of them left. Everybody in my life has left.
Yeah.
My parents, I've never seen, besides intermediate family, everybody's left. There's nothing there.
It's interesting. I think at that level, and I'm just thinking aloud here, but I think it almost becomes dangerous to want that, right? Because it feels like a setup for the next.
It feels like somebody's about to leave.
Yeah, I got you.
You
Okay.
can't trust it.
And you don't. That's the thing. You are constantly walking on eggshells, waiting for it to blow up or something like that to happen. So she literally lives 2 streets over. We move in with her. My brother leaves and moves to Starkville. No, not Starkville. He moves to Tunica. My uncle has a job up there. He's a CEO over a big company at that point, and gets everybody jobs. My brother jobs, my father jobs, everybody jobs. So we all moved to Tunica after we moved in with this woman. My brother moves up there on his own with his friends. All of them got jobs. It's very, taken care of at this point. Moving
Sounds
to
like it.
apartments in Hernando, right next to Hernando. Can't think, around Hernando. And we lived there for about 6 months. But we just constantly want to be back home where we're from, and it just don't work out. We miss our friends. We miss everything we've grown up with. And this whole time I'm playing baseball, all from 4 to 10 years old. Very good, not phenomenal, but I love sports at that point. And I was enthralled with them, and that's the stability I had in my life.
Yeah.
That was something you could count on.
Something I can count on. It's constant, travel, everything, just baseball and football. Started probably about 8 and went from there. So we moved back, and it's me, my dad, his wife, and his 3 kids, or her 3 kids. And this is around the age of 11 or 12. This is whenever I start going into a different world, per se. So instead of moving back and going back to the school I've been at my whole life, my aunt that took me in and my first cousin are at this private Christian school 25 minutes down the road. And I have the opportunity to go there and try to have more stability. I'm still living with my dad. They'd pick me up. I'd go to school with him, stuff like that. This is where everything kind of shifts to that. But I don't have stability in my own home, because I think that everything's going to change. Everything's always changed. Everything's going to change. But at my aunt's house, I have stability. I have her 2 kids, and my uncle who been there. Solid foundation. I need something, they got it. It's solid, unlike everything else I've ever had. So I'm living with my dad, but I'm going to school with them every day. My grandfather's paying for it. Because it was expensive school. It was like coming here for 3 months. For 1 month, something like it was expensive. So I go there for a little bit, do a year or 2 there, start getting involved in stuff because I was a good kid. Like I said, I wasn't involved in that. It just looked fun. This is where everything kind of starts becoming real. I'm in like 5th or 6th grade, and start dipping, stuff like that. Start doing stuff I know I really shouldn't be doing and liking it. Start messing with girls, stuff like that. Just being bad, I'd say. Not... I was good up until that point, but I started being bad. So I'm going to this Christian school for a year or 2, and my cousin and my aunt leave with about 6 months left in my second year. My cousin got into a little trouble, don't get into all that, with cheating on a test, ended up leaving and going back to his other school. He was a senior. They weren't going to let him play baseball, so he left. So I'm stuck at this school with nothing now, no rock, nothing. Like I said, still have them, love them, all that, but I'm at the school alone. I have the friends I made over the last year and a half, but the person I run to every day when there's a problem, or the person is gone. It's no longer there. To get to school, you have to take a bus. So my dad would take me to my sister's house. I was in Section 8 apartments, where she would have, not the best people living there, but love me, and my sister and me are very solid. There's nothing that can come between us. I mean, we've got into it a bunch, but there's nothing that's going to separate us. So I'd sit with her for 30 minutes, then we'd get in her car that had no heat in like 20-degree or 30-degree weather and go wait for a private school bus for me to go to school.
Is there any substance abuse going on with your siblings?
Yes.
So is she using at this time?
Yes. So my brother, my oldest brother was I don't even say alcoholic. He liked to drink.
Okay.
But he can stop. You know, he can drink one weekend and never drink again. It don't really bother him. My sister, on the other hand, she gets pregnant at 16 and gets involved in gangs and stuff like that. She becomes very, very good person in my book, but other people might not.
But she really
think so.
embraces the lifestyle.
Embraces the lifestyle. She's stripping and doing stuff, you know, and she's doing a bunch of bad stuff. But yeah, she's on Xanax and cocaine and weed, and I mean, she's not one to mess with. In other words, she's a different person.
But sad, really.
Yes, it's sad at that point. Looking back at it, you know, when you're living in it, it's gung-ho. You know, this is
the way it is.
Chaos. You know, this is what I'm looking for. So she's involved in all that at that point, and she watches me. Like I said, great relationship, but she's taking me to, I just remember because she's in like a $2,000 car with no heater, no AC, and it's like 25 degrees outside and we're freezing. I mean, we're freezing. We have a coffee can in the floor with the little fire to get a little heat in the car while I'm waiting on a school bus to take me to a private school that costs more than their car costs. And it's just like, this is what my family's doing for me to try to help me out, try to get me to find God or change, because they know what's right and wrong. They're caught up in their own storm at this time. They're
not doing it, but they're still trying to make sure you got it.
They're trying to make sure I'm okay. My family is rock solid when it comes to that. They want to make sure that I'm taken care of no matter what. Yeah, if I get fired or get anything today, I'm taken care of no matter what. I ain't got to worry about where my next meal is coming from. I'm taken care of.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Your family is sending you to this Christian school. Oh, well, that's actually your aunt and uncle, right? So, like, do your mom or dad have any kind of spiritual affiliation at this point? Are they professing?
Yes, I was raised in a Baptist church, go to church a lot.
Just kind of walked away from the discipline of the walk, so to speak. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's what a modern day Christian is.
Okay.
You know, we see all these people in church. Yeah, I mean, or, you know, we're different Christians than what people are in other churches. I mean, I've been on both sides of it. I see it firsthand. I'd say we're a modern day Christian. They're acting it, but they're not walking it out like we do daily. You know, it's different.
Okay.
But yeah, they heavily involved in church. I go to church, Baptist, everything my whole life. Church with my mom when I go see her on the weekends. Church with my dad whenever we go. You know, and it wasn't every weekend, but it was every other weekend or every, you know.
And I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep cutting you off, but at this point, we're probably past age 13. So are you using, or are we not there?
No, we're not there. We're probably so I'm in 5th or 6th grade. I'm 11 years old.
Probably. Oh, okay, getting there. Okay.
Yeah, 6th or 7th grade. So, like I said, tobacco, cigarettes, and women. That's all I could get my hands on, so that's all I was doing or focusing on at that point.
Yeah.
And so leave that school, go back to a normal school, hook up with my friends that I had when I was kindergarten to 4th grade, and they're wanting to drink now and wanting to live this lifestyle. And I'd been exposed to it with my older cousin that I was going to school with, I'd go to parties with him and stuff like that, and that would ultimately, I'd start drinking and doing stuff like that around 8th grade, stealing moonshine and stuff like that out of people's fridges and anything I get my hands on to drink, stuff like that. I knew I was going to be an alcoholic or addict from the time I picked it up. It wasn't I fell into it. It was...
You knew there was a problem.
I knew this was coming. Yeah. Rehab was in my future at prison. So... 8th grade.
Had you had anybody so far in your family or close friends, anybody like that had gone to treatment or sought help for addiction?
Nope, not at all. Like I said,
what about prison?
No, but the crowd I grew up in with my grandparents, there was my grandfather had this guy, and I remember him vividly. He kept him in a camper. He been to prison from California all the way to Mississippi. He's a 67-year-old drunk and. Yeah, stuff like that, but it gets fantasized, you know.
Right.
Yeah, he's like, you don't want to go, but in my mind, this is what the fun guy's saying. Yeah, I mean, this is old-time drunk. This is a drunk from the 80s, you know.
Yeah.
They're a lot different than us nowadays. They're a little crazier. So 8th grade, start drinking. And I wouldn't say nobody, my sister never went to rehab, none of that. But my 8th grade year, she's checking me out from school every once in a while. I'll text her and my dad, let her come sign me out. Because, like I said, they're very close. My whole family, besides my mom and my dad, are like this. Very, very close. So one day my sister comes and signs me out of school, my 8th grade year, and tells me that she's about to go away for a little while. And this is where the prison kind of comes in at. She was working for a gas station and was a manager and got caught embezzling. Bunch of thousands of dollars, somewhere above 20 to 30,000. And she got arrested. They came and arrested her, and she came and picked me up from school when she got out and was like, look, I'm about to go away. I love you. But like I said, we're very, very close. And at this point, she's, coke, all that, very out there. But like I said, still a good sister. Bad role model, great sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, very loving. Nothing's going to happen to me. There ain't nothing going to touch me, pretty much. And my uncle, the one that was the CEO, helps her out and kind of gets her out of the charges gets her from going to prison, helps her get probation and probation. So she gets put on probation, and she then...
Did your uncle just have friends in high places? Or what?
No money.
Oh, money, okay.
Yeah, money can buy your way out of pretty much anything. He's helped me out a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah, so money, she paid some of the fine or some of the embezzlement back, like, hey, and then y'all give her probation and y'all can have this money back instead of her, because her probation was you had to pay this back and you got to pass drug tests. So she had to pay back the company so much each month and this, that, and the other. So they went ahead and put a lot down. That way she could start probation. But she realizes Kazieska's no good. She's married at this point to my first brother-in-law, who I have a great relationship. He was probably 20. She was probably about 23, about a 5-year difference. She's got my nephew who, at this point, I don't know, is probably 6 years old. My mom has my brother. So, and my mom's living in Vicksburg at this point, being a SPED director for that school district. So my sister and my brother-in-law and my nephew pack up and move with her. So there I go. I wouldn't say abandoned again, but it's kind of like everybody's just leaving. I'm stuck with my dad. I have my aunt and stuff.
Did it feel like abandonment?
Oh, it felt like she was there one day and gone the next. I wouldn't feel like she was leaving me on purpose, but it felt like, here's my rock, and then my rock's gone. But at that age, you don't realize what's going on. I mean, I know she got in trouble and she's got to go. Yeah. And like I said, she told me firsthand before anybody else could. It's just the relationship we had. So I knew she wouldn't abandon me, but it just felt like, here's somebody else in my life leaving again.
Right.
And I'd say, like I said, that's where the alcohol starts, drinking.
Before we go any further, let's take a minute to address the man or the woman listening to today's episode and wishing for a better life. Or maybe addiction has completely overtaken a family member or a friend.
You are not alone. As you may know, the Jesus Loves Addicts podcast is produced by the Home of Grace, a Christ-centered addiction recovery program in South Mississippi with over 60 years of experience.
The Home of Grace has residential programs ranging from 30 days to 12 months. With 2 separate campuses for men and women, they are fully staffed with caring individuals who want nothing more than to guide you to a life of recovery.
Services include individual and group counseling, marriage and family counseling, classes, workshops, GED, and workforce training, all grounded in biblical principles.
And because of donations from the community, the cost of the program is incredibly affordable.
Thousands of alumni from across the country can tell you there is no other program in the world quite like the Home of Grace.
If you want to start a new path to recovery, don't wait. Speak with an admission specialist today. Visit homeofgrace.org or call 833-55-GRACE to talk with someone.
That's 833-55-GRACE. Call the Home of Grace today.
I wasn't an alcoholic that was going out and hiding and buying stuff. I was allowed to drink, but I wasn't allowed to drink. I was allowed to go hang out with my cousin who was partying. He better get me home. Yeah, they ain't gonna allow me to drink, but if I'm with him and everything's okay, it's
they're not gonna ask any questions.
Kind of a blind eye,
Yeah.
Go take care of him. I'm meeting people that are 5 years older than me that are, doing drugs and girls and this and that, and it's the lifestyle that I, in my mind, hype up that I want to live this every day. And they're only doing this once a week, but in my mind, this is
what you want
who
to
I
do.
want to be. I'm cool with going to be a alcoholic or working because I want to live that lifestyle the rest of my life at this point, because that's what's comfortable to me, the chaos.
Well, can you identify at any time where you felt angry when they were leaving, or that you had to have felt at some point that you didn't have a voice? They were always leaving you. You were always the one there. Do you remember feeling angry? Not just, well, this is dumb, I'm going to drink, I'm going to do what I want to do, but angry.
So the way I feel anger now and the way I felt anger then is different. The way I feel anger back then, I didn't feel it, but my mom teaches special education, and we like to identify people and stuff like that, kind of like, what does this person have? Because everybody has something.
Yeah.
You know, they just didn't detect in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Everybody has something. That's why it's more detectable nowadays. Either way, I had an emotional blah, 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 blah. So I was an emotional disturbed child or something like that, where I was very emotional. I was very angry, very happy, very sad. That was pretty much my problem. So I was angry a lot. I flipped out a lot, threw tantrums from the time I was 2 to 10, just like right now, I hate you to that woman. I ain't no reason to hate that woman. There was anger inside. I didn't feel it, or at least I didn't recognize the emotions then, because I wasn't emotionally intelligent like I am now. But yeah, I'd say there's a lot of anger at that point. I just don't recognize it, but it's there.
Did you ever act out, like, violently, physically? Were there?
Yeah. I'd say so.
Okay.
There was probably a few times. Now, I wasn't a violent child. I got in probably 2 fights. I don't like fighting. I'm not a violent person when it comes to that. But yeah, I'd throw tantrums and probably hit and stuff like that. Like any.
Well, even the "I hate you" note that's a lot of passion behind something like that. Yeah, so you feel it.
I hate you is passion. It's not I don't like you. It's I hate you. I want you gone. Pretty much. It's something beneath it.
But you mentioned something about being labeled emotionally disturbed, and there's something that a little frustrating about that. I mean, right? Because it's this is the natural byproduct of the chaos you were raised in, right? It's not like some
what causes it.
Wake up
so it's interesting.
And decide this is what you wanted to be.
Yeah. It's something we're labeling, at 23 years old.
Yeah, it happens.
But definitely, it's a byproduct of what I'm raised in.
Right.
Nobody has a choice in what they're raised in and how they're raised. It's just we are what we are, and we're all of us in this room is the byproduct of our environment and choices we made and stuff that's been made for us. So at 13, drinking heavily, living. My sister's gone, so I'm stuck with my dad and my stepmom, but my aunt lives right down the road, so I'm staying with her in the afternoons, and my grandmother lives with her now because my grandfather passed away. So that's when I stopped going to private school. 7th grade, my grandfather passes away, the money's not there no more. So I then go back to regular school. So my aunt
What was that change like for you? That's a very different environment.
It was fun because I brought chaos to the private school, or I seek it out. I'm not going to hang out with the good people.
So now you were going to an environment where it was a little more present?
Yeah, but these are the people I was in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade with, played baseball with, football.
You felt like you were going home.
Yeah, I was already there. It was fine. But it was still a disconnect. Nothing ever felt like home, I'd say. Yeah. I never really felt like home. I'd say I was going back to an environment I knew better.
Yeah.
Or something more I understand, 'cause
where your behavior was a little more congruent, right? Like it was a little more...
Yeah, but good child on the outside. Teachers loved me. Maybe got 2 paddlings. I was a good kid.
Yeah.
Great in sports, very respectful, very yes man. Like I said, on the present, everything's good.
Okay.
Did you have any discipline at home?
Yeah. I'd say I was disciplined to a certain degree when it came to certain things. As far as me being respectful to people and making good grades and stuff like that. But it wasn't as bad. So whenever my dad and mom was married, and with their 2 kids, my dad made them get 90s, 100. If you made anything less than 100, you're in trouble. Yeah. And I didn't have that. I was good. I was all he had in the world.
Yeah.
You feel me? Everybody else done left him. It was me and him against the world at this point. So he's not going to push away the only thing that he has. So he changes his parenting style. Like I said, he's also 30 and a lot more laid back. So, but yeah, that's the way I look at it. Is I'm all he had at this point, all the way until he gets married when I'm 10. It's just me and him. Everybody else is leaving and and it's just me and him against the world. So
did you feel like that too?
Yeah, I'd say that's probably why I didn't like the stepmoms and all the change and all that, because this is what I've known,
He's my constant.
Yeah.
Disrupting the dynamic duo, right? That
Exactly.
was your space. Okay.
Yeah, I'd say that was a good explanation of that. So drinking, 13, 8th grade, my grandmother and I'm seeing them a lot, playing football still, playing baseball, everything's going good, hanging out with friends, stuff like that. Well, when 9th grade hits, that's when the problem, so in my 8th grade year, they have a good baseball I go from a 4A school to a 2A school, so I can play baseball with less challenges and stuff like that. I'm able to go play sports and have a laid-back environment, and it's where my dad went to high school and stuff like that. So instead of a city school, it's a county school. It's 10 miles down the road. It's just different. So I'm getting thrown in this new environment with people I've played baseball with growing up, but I don't really know. You know, I'm not staying over at their house. I had friends growing up, stayed at the house, stuff like that. It was popular. It wasn't, you know, me by myself. I had friends here and there. It wasn't no problem with that. But 9th grade, I make these friends that we shape each other and we become basically what I became, you know, because of this. So my 9th grade year, I meet these people. My best friend, his name is Matthew Rigby. He's passed on now. We'll get to that later in the story. And then 2 or 3 other friends that are very near and dear to me. I don't want to use their names. Just 2 friends that are very near and dear to me. So 9th grade happens. Everything's good. I'm drinking. I'm partying. So I'm staying with my aunt. So my dad lets me go stay with her so I can hang out with my cousin and go hunting at night and drink and have fun with his friends. He's let me live there because I'm more comfortable there. He notices at his house, even though me and him are like this, it's just I'm not happy. You know, I'm constantly running, doing something different. I want to be with my aunt. So I go stay with my aunt and her husband and kids. And at this point, like I said, I'm in 9th grade, so I'm drinking, I'm staying out, and my grades start to fail. I remember, you know, you get 4 report cards throughout the year. My first report card is after a football game, or I was playing football in my 9th grade year. Me and my dad sitting at Sonic, and he opens it, I'm failing every class. It wasn't no, you know, hey, you know, it was, I'm failing every class, and he snaps on me, and I snap on him, and I think that's the first time I ever snapped back at him. I think it was because I had this outlet of drinking and stuff like this. I didn't care no more. It was, you know.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. You know, typically when you're failing everything, that's not so much a reflection on the intelligence. It's a reflection on you've checked out, right?
Yeah,
so
I don't care anymore.
At this point, okay, so that you're...
Should be a huge red flag.
Yeah, and I love the way that you put that the friends that you started making, you guys started to shape each other, right? I don't often hear it said like that. That's exactly what happens.
The friends you make in high school shape you for the rest of your life.
Thus it can, right?
Yeah,
we still have, right? Yeah, so we still have something to say. But that is such a powerful statement, and why we have to be wise with who we surround ourselves with. But anyway, I love that you said that. So yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So my dad, you know, sees it. We and him yell at each other, and he's like, "You're done. You're coming back home." And somehow I trick him to take me back to my aunt's. So he's like, "You're done." I missed like 4 more days of school. I'm still failing. Nothing's going right. But I'm playing sports. That's what he wants me to play sports. Very, like I said, he coached me my whole life. So I'm still playing high school football. In these relationships, I get in this relationship with 2 different girls at this point. And I'm playing against one another. I'm doing what I've been shown my whole life. And what in my mind, what I've been shown. You know, whether that was the case or not. So I'm going back and forth, and I'm being a terrible person. Looking back, I was a...
But it is what's normal to you.
Yeah, it's what I, you know, but terrible person. So me and my friends start partying.
Terrible behavior, broken person.
Terrible behavior, broken person. Yeah. Shattered on the inside.
Yeah.
Bad stuff coming out, pretty much. So we're throwing parties on the weekends, and this is in 9th grade, and I mean, we're drinking, we're doing whatever we can. I won't smoke weed because they drug test, and in my mind, if I fail a drug test, I'm screwed. Right. So I'm drinking. I hadn't done drugs yet at this point, so I'm just drinking. Come around November, December, right around the time football season starts. Not football season, basketball season starts. Me and my 2 friends go to a basketball game, and we're hanging out with this guy as a senior who I ended up becoming really good friends with. And he's, come to find out, he was selling a lot of drugs, good friend of mine, bad role model once again. Just going into the bad crowds, me with the bad people. Basketball game ends. We go with him to a party, and when we get to the truck, before we go to the party, we all get high. I smoke weed for the first time around December of my 9th grade year. I'm 14 at this point, or 13 or 14 at this point. And great night. You know, this is, instead of being in my cousin's shadow, I'm finally getting my own reputation and being around people that, you know, this is, you know, and this is what I wanted for myself. I wanted to party. I didn't want straight A's and
you didn't care about any of that, but this is what you wanted, and you kind of finally had your own identity.
Yep. So I got there. Me and my friends I met, and then this older guy, who ended up becoming a good friend of mine, get high, next day, I tell my sister, I'm like, I smoked weed for the first time. She's mad at me, you know, because even though she's living it. So at this point, my sister lived in Vicksburg for about a year and a half, 2 years, my 8th grade year and half of my 9th grade year, and then moved back to Kosciuszko, her and her husband, but she was sober.
This comes after her almost going to prison again.
Yeah, so she's still on probation.
Is she using still?
No, she is clean.
Okay.
Yeah, she quit coke, quit everything.
Okay.
Started working, started paying off fines. We got my brother-in-law on a riverboat. He's now a captain. They're divorced, but worked his way up, and he's spending all his money on their fines. I mean, because they got in a situation that's selling money together, you know, stuff like that. But she's the one that got caught. So either way, she's back. She's mad I got high, but still my best friend and stuff like that.
We tend to want more for our younger siblings than we were doing.
Yeah, we want to see them be successful.
Mm-hmm. Even if we're not.
Yep. And my brother's doing good at this point. He is married at this, he's married at this point, living in Starkville, working on his college degree. He messed up 4 full rides. Like I said, 36 and he messed up a lot of full rides, and then goes back and has to pay for his college. So he's working for a company that pays for it all. Like he's very intelligent, and they pay for him to get a safety thing. So he's doing that. And I would go stay. So I was not only drinking there, I was drinking with my friends, with my cousin, and then we would go tailgate with my brother on the weekends, me and my 3 friends in 9th grade, and be sneaking alcohol all the time. They knew what was going on, but we have to sneak because you can't just walk. Right? So sneaking alcohol all the time. So I'm drinking everywhere I am. It's not I'm not hiding it to this point, and you know they know.
Yeah,
it's open. But it's like I said, I'm not hiding liquor bottles in the cabinet. I'm not an alcoholic yet, or I'm not a drug addict yet. But this is what I want, so I'm chasing after it. I ain't gonna stop. But I smoked weed that one time, and I stopped smoking weed because I'm like, I'm not failing the drug tests. I'm good. You know, loved weed, loved getting high. I skipped it. Played baseball my 9th grade year. It's my first year of high school baseball, and we have a spring break tournament down in Mobile. And after the second game, I'm drinking vodka, playing tennis out of a backpack, and I jump up, and when I come down, my ankle snaps. So I break my ankle. My mom's on a trip with me. She took me and my friend's staying with us, stuff like that. And she takes me to urgent care or whatever, and they pop it and put me in a cast and all that. And this is where I get first introduced to pain pills. And this is where, like I said, the pain pills ain't what made me an addict. I already knew what I wanted to be before I became it.
Right, but you had not met something that you couldn't.
Yeah, but I've seen people.
You couldn't control.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where the problem comes in at. I have a prescription for them now. I can't play sports the rest of the year, so I'm good. I don't care anymore.
And no reason to withhold.
Yeah, my grades are where they're at. I know I'm going to summer school anyway. It is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
So I take the whole script of pills. I'm doing them, and then I find another friend of mine that's selling pills. Ends up becoming a great friend of mine. Well, I still love him to this day. We're good friends. And I'm buying his parents' prescription pills from him at break, and then going into my reading class and just nodding off for like the next 3 months of school. I mean, I'm just doing.
Did anybody notice any changes in you?
My mom says she did. Me and my best friend, who later died, went to visit her, and I got very violent and angry because I was sober that weekend, I guess, because I'm with her for 3 days. I can't do nothing. I remember trying to smoke weed in her bathroom at this point, and I don't know what I was doing. You know, I was a kid. I just remember getting very angry with her that weekend. She called my dad and was like, he's on drugs, you know. Yeah. And, you know, I'm like, no, yeah, it don't really matter. I don't care. But, I mean, he's working 40 hours a week trying to have a house and do everything right, and he's trying to keep me in line, but he can't. Man, everybody's trying to keep me in line, but you can't stop me.
You
once
really
I
didn't
start.
care.
Yeah, I don't care. I didn't care. You know, that was pretty much what shaped my next few years. Is I just didn't care. There was nothing that just stopped me. I'm still in a relationship with these two girls, playing them back and forth. I mean, I did this for about 3 years, and it was rough. I was terrible for it. So, a bunch of pain pills, still drinking, won't smoke weed, and then summer hits. And me and my 3 friends, or 2 friends, go hang out at this trailer that one of our friends lives in with his dad, who's on drugs and stuff like that. And we are having a great summer, a lot of drugs, a lot of anything you could think of. I mean, I'm staying out for 24 hours, not going to, I mean, nothing but pain pills and weed and stuff like that at this point still, and alcohol, but it's ramping up. I mean, there's girls everywhere, there's alcohol everywhere, there's weed everywhere. I'm living a life with no responsibility and doing what I want. So I did that for about 2 months, and I got introduced to a guy that introduced me to another drug later on. I ended up becoming one of my good friends that summer. I started hanging out with him. He's 19, so I'm 14. 19-year-olds and stuff like that, and they have all the freedom in the world. I don't. So
they're the heroes for a 14-year-old.
because I'm following them.
Yeah.
Eyes are open, and I'm chasing after them. So then we get my 10th grade year starts. I play football for like 6 games. I'm like, I'm through. I ain't doing this no more. I just clocked out.
So it's already robbing you of other passions.
Oh yeah, it's taking baseball away. I broke my ankle. A month later, I quit baseball. I'm like, I'm done. So baseball's done. Football is done. I can't have a serious relationship, which would not, 9th grade, you can't have a serious relationship anyway. But
well, you were having 2 serious relationships,
and I just didn't know it. It was very, very bad. Yeah, and it was taking everything from me. It was making me this person that I ended up becoming that I didn't want to be, or did want to be at the time, but highly regret. Yeah. I didn't know where it was going. You know, it went down a dark path.
Well, in 9th, 10th grade, you're not able to play that tape all the way through.
You're 14, 15, you're good. So I turned 15 in July before my 10th grade year. Going to my 10th grade year, it's around October. And hanging out with that guy that's 19 that I mentioned before. And it's me and him. We leave a Halloween party because he has this nice truck. He's a logger and makes a lot of money. His parents own a logging company. And he's got plenty of money. And we're at Walmart. It's like 10:30 at night. He pulls out some Coke. Tells me, da-da-da-da. I'm like, no, I'm doing it. So I make him give me some. We do Coke. I do Coke for the first time. And then for a 15-year-old, that's paradise, So for the week after that, I got my best friend to try it, who, like I said, is dead now. And then the week after that, we got another best friend to try it. And then the next week, so we just kept getting more people hooked on Coke and doing it. So I'm 15, driving an hour away, hanging out in some bad spots. They ended up feeling more like home than my actual home for me. And doing Coke with a bunch of people I shouldn't even be around, A bunch of bad stuff going on around me that I had no clue about. So I'm heavily addicted to Coke. Like I said, the pain pills, heavily addicted to. But then the Coke really did it for me. That's what captivated all. Pain pills, I'd say I was heavily addicted to pills because it wasn't just pain pills. It was Ambien, anything I get my hands on. My father took anything. I'd go through medicine cabinets left and right, just get them whatever I could. I was snorting whatever pill I could break down, whether it did something to me or not.
And you were only a kid.
Yeah, 14 years old, and this is my life at this point. This is what I'm chasing after. But I got a good friend group. Well, I got people that love me and support me around me, but maybe not the best influences, but I wasn't the best. I was the bad guy in the friend group. Everybody thinks their kid's a good one. I was the one dragging the rest of them to hell with me.
Did your parents know that, or did they think that you were
I pinned it on everybody else. It was very manipulative. There wasn't a lie I couldn't get out of. There was always, she was going to drop, but I was going to pick it up and throw it again. There wasn't going to be nothing else. It wasn't going to stop on me. Yeah. Yeah. And they believe me because I'm, me. Their baby, and they're going to trust your baby to a certain extent.
Hey, everybody. Hope you enjoyed part 1 of Joseph Deason's story. Believe me, he's just getting started. So tune in next week for part 2. Thanks so much.